This is Ginger Parsnips on AO3 again. I am doing the author read of chapter 2 of With Every Breath, the poet, with each breath, the poet lives another stanza of his poem. Funnily enough, I barely know the title of my own fic. I am doing chapter 2 today, and then later tonight I will try and finish writing chapter 3, get that posted with the author read as well, and yeah. Chapter 2. The cracks were sealed with gold, but the gold of a fool melts easily. Bloodied lips, bloodied lip, bruised ribs, sore heart. Adrenaline, anger, and discipline suppressed those feelings, continually moving Owen forward with his training. The sun had risen hours ago, the world widely awake just how Owen had spent the past night. He had only ever stopped to tell the time using the sun's positioning, never any longer than that. He deserved no breaks, nothing of that sort. His father had raised a soldier boy, a disciplined fighter and weapon. He would not be pleased with his son could he see him now. He refused to besmirch his father's name in hard work like that, especially since it was the only lesson of his that Owen had greatly benefited from. All his training dummies were destroyed thoroughly. All targets were filled with wear and tear from the hundreds of arrows sent straight to the bullseye from meters away. The grass of the training area was worn beneath his feet, and calloused hands were beginning to sandpaper the bark of nearby trees. The geography around him, both nature-made and man-made, was begging of him to rest. Yet he wasn't satisfied with that night's progress. He could have stopped at any moments that could come. He refused to be satisfied. Nothing about himself could satisfy him. It was with his last knife bowstring broken where he gave in. He had heat stroke and was out of water and food, getting dehydrated fast. He needed to replenish his entire training area anyways, so a break for both him and the environment was necessary. He tidied the clearing up and gathered his things, leaving for his house. Based on the sun's positioning, it was about 2:30 in the afternoon, leaving Owen plenty of time to help out around the house before heading to bed. He made sure to take the quickest route back in the quickest manner, as no soldier has the time to take the scenic path ever. He couldn't indulge himself with the stupid wants of his to stop and smell the flowers or take a moment to appreciate Mother Earth. Even though he was slightly slowed by his excessive thinking, he made it home by 3 p.m., cutting an hour-long trip in half. He walked in the front door and closed it, planning to go straight to his room. He was quickly confined the moment he closed the door by his fisherman giving a very tight hug. Rosby quickly joined in, having woken up from Apple's jolt off the couch. They both held Owen tight, the invisible tears seeping into sadness dripping off their arms. Owen finally felt the exhaustion and yearning for his lovers hit him. He collapsed into that hug, holding them close before he allowed himself to be led to the couch. The TV was off when they got to the couch, Rosby pausing the soft music that had been playing as she slept. Rosby gave the tune of Owen's favorite lullaby to her lips, and Apple quickly turned on the instrumental version of it on the TV and turned the volume down, knowing Owen would fall fast asleep by the end of the first verse. Rosby held him curled up on her chest and rubbed his back and petted his hair, handling her fragile boyfriend so gently as to hold him together. Apple rubbed circles with his thumbs onto the top of Owen's hands, only letting go to gently cup his face and kiss his face and cheeks. Owen melted into the love, and finally his mind took a break, sensing the pure safety around him. He needn't force himself to be a blade nor pen, simply Owen surrounded by his loves, Apple and Rosby. As Owen relaxed into the two, they both took turns giving him bits of praise, reassurance, and comfort. Apple gave the most, as his anxiety had been high as hell since he had found Owen's note. Rosby simply gave the physical affection that Owen had been yearning for since before the night he spent under the stars. Their predictions had been true, as Owen had fallen asleep almost the instant the TV had caught his attention. He grasped his hands around each of his partner's hands tightly, even when in sleep afraid to let them go. Apple and Rosby stayed there, using one-handed sign language to communicate so as not to wake their soldier boy. His time in the military had led him to become quite the light sleeper. A pin dropping onto the carpet could wake him with a jolt. They had noticed all of Owen's injuries and exhaustion and all the ways they appeared. They discussed when to help him with the injuries and try and help him back into his routines as a lover and wordsmith. They'd only be able to help him with that transition back once, as before he attended the signs too well for them to notice a difference. They agreed to aid him when he woke up naturally. Before then, they would simply give him as much comfort as he slept as they possibly could. As he slept, he would have fits of nightmares and anxiety. When he did, Apo gave him reassurance through back rubs as Rosby whispered sweet nothings into his ear to ease his mind. This was happening more frequently than the average night, yet the two almost expected it, as his mind was just winding down after days of being on edge. When Owen woke up hours later, he was equally curled between the fisherman and his princess. He was covered by the warmest, fluffiest blanket in the house and could feel his hands tightly squeezing Apo and Rosby's. He could hear Apo mouthing words and sighing on his left, while Rosby listened and ran her fingers through his hair absent-mindedly. They had not noticed Owen being awake quite yet, so he took the moment to quickly try and end the battle in his mind of what his first reaction should be. The soldier in him was commanding him to get up and be the caretaker and protector he was supposed to be, failing to be. Yet the tiny voice in his mind that narrated his stanza was saying to burrow further into his partners and ask them softly not to leave, not to stop loving him the way they were. The battle between childhood lessons and adult life was ferocious, and Owen was too damn exhausted to really help ease it with logic. It didn't take long for Rosby to notice the look of mental strain and concern on her boyfriend's face. She could quickly make out what was going on in his head and went to make sure he knew how the rest of the day was going to go. Before you trick yourself into believing you have any other choice, you're staying put so we can take care of you. You need today love and kindness and softness, and you're going to get that, all right? Rosby said to Owen in a gentle voice, not commanding this, simply stating it as fact. Owen took a moment before speaking. Thank you both. I appreciate it greatly. Rosby kissed his head before getting up to get Owen water and a small snack to eat. Apo reassured Owen he was just as gently firm in his stance of taking care of him as Rosby was, and promised that the rest of the day would simply be them staying together and Owen being taken care of. Owen was pampered that day, being fed snacks and given water. He was the one who decided everything they did, and Apo and Rosby never had a single complaint. Even though there was a part of Owen always protesting, he quite liked this way of being taken care of. Yet there was something gnawing at his mind, at his heart, at his soul. His father's voice was saying to respect the woman he was leaning on and get up. Respect her and clean your mess. Stop being a burden. He was echoing commands to Owen to respect Apo as a host and to tidy up the house, to be a good guest and let him have control over the events of the evening, to be good guests, recognize he had overstayed his welcome, and leave. His heart was screaming at him to ignore his foully programmed mind, one built only to betray him and break him down every chance it got. After the turmoil of the previous night and day, Owen had no energy to listen or ignore, so he simply let the ghost of his father's voice haunt his thoughts and ramble on, not particularly paying attention to what it was saying. So he spent the rest of the evening and night feeling a bittersweet mixture of comfort and guilt for taking the offered sweetness, not ever allowing it to be shown on his face. Apo and Rosby had done more than they should have for Owen already. He wasn't going to put anything more on their plates. So he spent the rest of the time falsifying most of his enjoyment with them, letting the mind and heart continue fighting. When the night's end came, so did a restless but deep sleep for Owen too. And that is the end of chapter 2. So, again, if you watch this, I hope you liked it. After this, I'm going to try and finish writing chapter 3. And after that, I'm going to start making it a pattern of before I post a finished chapter, I do the author read. That way I can just, have that link ready to go for you guys. And if you really would rather not have these author reads anymore, you guys can tell me in the comments. I just thought you guys might like one or two of them, just sort of dabble in that a bit. Yeah, I hope you guys liked it, and have a good time. Bye.